Well, I hate to say it, but 2024 is creeping up on us pretty quick. I'm honestly not sure how many more movie reviews I'll put out this month, at least one more if I have the time. But as for today, I'll be reviewing one of the last big releases of the year.
So you're the funny little man who's been following me.
I will have you know that I am a perfectly respectable size for an Oompa Loompa.
An Oompa what now?
Wonka follows none other than Willy Wonka on his journey to becoming the candy entrepreneur we know and love, and along the way he makes some new friends to help him on his journey, as well as some powerful enemies that want to see his dreams crushed. Getting into the film's cast, I obviously have to start with Willy Wonka himself, played here by Timothée Chalamet. Then, as one of Willy's newfound companions, Noodle, we have Calla Lane. As the heads of the chocolate cartel, Slugworth, Prudence, and Fickelgruber, we have Patterson Joseph, Matt Lucas, and Matthew Bainton. As the chief of police, we have Keegan-Michael Key. As the Oompa Loompa, we have Hugh Grant. And as the rest of Willy's friends, we have Jim Carter as Abacus Crunch. Natasha Rothwell plays Piper Benz. Rakhi Thakrar, I hope I'm saying that name right, I probably am not, and I apologize, plays Lottie Bell. And then we have Rich Fulcher playing Larry Chucklesworth. There are quite a few others I could mention, but for the sake of time, that's where I'll stop. So, getting into my review, I'll be structuring it like my other movie reviews, starting with the positives, then the negatives, then I'll end the review with my ranking. So without further ado, let's get into my review for Wonka. Now, getting into the positives for the film, the first one I'd like to mention is the performances from the cast. I obviously have to start with Timothée Chalamet as Willy Wonka, and what an incredible job he did in the film. When I first heard he was casted as a young Willy Wonka, I was definitely skeptical, and I don't think I was the only one. But after watching the film, I can't say I have any complaints with his performance. He had the energy required for the character. He also had the emotion the story required of him, had great chemistry with the rest of the cast, and even did a pretty great job with the music. As far as other performances go, I also enjoyed Calla Lane as Noodle. She nailed the humor and emotion, and had great chemistry with Timothée Chalamet. Then there's the Chocolate Cartel. Every performance there was fantastic. They all played the part of a villain perfectly, while still being able to goof around and have fun with their characters. But the last person I really want to mention here, Keegan-Michael Key as the chief of police. He was absolutely hilarious in this movie, playing a severe chocoholic who would do anything to get his fix. He's one of the funniest parts of this movie, and honestly, one of my favorites. But on to the next positive, which is going to be the story. Now, I wasn't sure about the idea of a Willy Wonka origin story when this film was first announced, similar to how I wasn't sure about the casting of Timothée Chalamet as Willy Wonka. And I honestly can't even say I was all that interested to see this movie until about a month or two ago. But now having seen the film, I'm very happy with the story being told. It's very wholesome and emotional, and feels full of hope and whimsy. Overall, I can't say I was ever bored watching this movie. The story kept me pretty locked in. On to the next positive, which is going to be the music. I'll only talk about this briefly because I can't really put any of the music in this video. And I will be honest, I wasn't crazy about every song in here. That kind of goes for most musicals I watch. But for the most part, I was tapping my foot throughout a majority of this movie and had a lot of fun with the musical numbers. Now, the last positive I want to mention is the overall look of the film. I liked that the color palette of the city was somewhat desaturated, allowing for the more vibrant colors to really pop on screen. As far as looks go, I also love the costume design, specifically for Willy's costume. I loved his trench/overcoat, whatever you want to call it. It was red with a bit of a purple tint, mixing the colors of the previous two Wonkas. And I also loved his hat. It literally looked like it was made out of chocolate, and I honestly wouldn't be surprised if it was. They definitely got the look of Willy Wonka right, and the look of the film overall. But that's all for the positives. I'd say a majority of this movie is a positive, honestly. But that doesn't mean I didn't have any issues, so let's get into some negatives. Now, as far as negatives go, I really don't have all that much. I think my biggest issue is the pacing / runtime. There were some scenes that felt a bit slow and maybe a bit unnecessary, along with some musical numbers I wasn't super crazy about, so that made it drag a bit too. On top of that, I felt this film didn't need to be as long as it was. It's almost 2 hours long when it probably could have been an hour 45. But on to the second and final negative, which is going to be one particular element of the story, having to do with Willy Wonka's origin. I just feel like for an origin film, they probably could have gone a little bit deeper into his backstory, seeing him just a little bit before he was on this path to becoming an entrepreneur. Maybe getting to see him travel the world a little bit and gather these ingredients. I don't know, I think that would have been cool to see. Also, guess it's a little bit of a spoiler to say that's not in here, but hey, maybe I'm just managing expectations. But on top of going deeper into his backstory, I also felt like they could have gone a little bit deeper into what comes at the end. I'm pretty sure all of you can assume what comes at the end, but yeah, they don't go super deep into it. Maybe they're just setting it up for a sequel, but I don't know, it feels like they just kind of shoehorn it in. But that's all for the positives and negatives, so let's get into my ranking. And since this film is currently only available in theaters, I'll be ranking it under my theatrical film ranking system. So as far as my ranking of 2023's Wonka goes, I'm going to go ahead and give the film a premium ticket. Sure, I had some problems with the film, but overall, I do think the positives outweighed the negatives. Wonka might have some pacing and story issues, and might be longer than it needs to be, but I loved the performances, story, music, and the overall look of the film, and like I said, I was never really bored while watching. But those are just my thoughts on Wonka, and I'd love to see yours down in the comments below. Let me know, have you seen the film? What did you think? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Are you in the middle? Have you not seen it? Are you planning on watching it in the theater, at home, or not at all? And one final question for you all, what is your favorite candy? I think mine personally would have to be Reese's Peanut Butter Cups. But really, any comments you have for me, I would love to hear from you. I respond to as much as I can. But do me a favor and leave a like for a Wonka bar, click subscribe for a golden ticket, and ring the bell for the whole factory.
I love you guys. Thank you.